The proper Italian name is Cialdo, but my mother called it the way her mother called it, cialetta. Basically, it is old, rock-hard bread that you soak in tap water, remove, add sliced fresh tomatoes, olive oil, salt, and oregano to taste. It was an almost daily lunch for my mother in the summer days of my youth. Last week, I was reminded of this now ancient memory when I decided to save the leftover roast for my teenage son. Figuring he needed it more than me, it suddenly occurred to me that maybe that was her motivation too. I recalled asking her for some, but she always encouraged me to eat my prosciutto and mozzarella instead. In 1957, my mother chose to leave her large family and life in Italy to move to this new country, based solely on the love and trust she had for one American GI. The decade of Latin and Greek she studied only mildly helped in her acquisition of this new language that she learned solely through TV shows and newspaper stories. Her former career as a teacher in a rural one-room schoolhouse haunted my sister and I. We once came home without any homework, so she took it upon herself to assign us work on a nightly basis, weekends no exception. Always a multitasker, she insisted I read aloud to her while she washed the kitchen floor on her hands and knees, the only real method and assurance that the floor was clean. Me with, "Joann, I don't know the sentence ended unless you drop your voice. Come on, again, read." The younger of two girls, I was quite the oddity to her. She would spend time thinking out loud about which paternal relative bore the blame of carrying that unrealistic gene that inspired my love of art and theater. Looking back, I realized how much it was actually she who unwittingly honed my innate desire for the stage. From multifaceted pseudo-angst displays, "Hey, you don't think I'm gonna put your underwear in the drawer without the iron? No." To her infamous glares that still yield power over us, she was the very definition of performance art. So, as time moved forward, my infatuation with theater refused to die. Horrified at the thought my goal in life was to inspire others to laugh at me, or what if they thought this was a reflection of her inability to teach me appropriate social behaviors? It became obvious that any public adulation should justifiably be placed upon my sister, given the fact that she resembled Audrey Hepburn and I looked like my father. After all, she was an overall better visual representation of our maternal genetic lineage. At first, I believed my constant insecurities and uneasy restlessness were simply the tortures of an unrealized creative genius. But age bestows wisdom, and it dawned on me that perhaps by not encouraging my creative desires, she thought she could rescue me from the cold arms of failure. By not granting her approval, she could prevent me from taking unnecessary risks, unable to bear the potential pain of seeing me hurt. Or maybe it was a more awful truth. Maybe she just didn't like me. Maybe I reminded her too much of herself, of the irrational risks and unreasonable courage she had shown, and now, decades later, was unwilling to admit she might have been wrong to act upon. After all, regretting her move would suggest she regretted us, and that was simply unthinkable. At one point, I thought I could finally forgive and embrace her inability to accept me. When a fellow cast member once mentioned to her how proud she must have been of my performance in that show, she answered without any hesitation, you know, she never go to college. I wanted that, but she say no. I was 52 at the time. History is far too easy to repeat. The fears I grew up with would have been simple to adopt and refine, but taking those unnecessary risks and showing that needless courage were part and parcel of the blood that courses through both of our veins. So, I too am a teacher in multi-grade classrooms. I teach art to at-risk youth, where an engaging performance is crucial, as these are much tougher audiences. As long as my artists create with genuine effort, I am happy for them, and that's because of my mother. I encourage them to be true to themselves and celebrate who they are, and that too is all because of my mother. Her uncertainties about me that cultivated my insecurities became the best gifts she could have possibly have given me. I learned adaptability and empathy. I acquired confidence and humor, all of which I share through the arts that I love. So, should you ever see my mother, please let her know what a good job she did with her daughter. Just don't let her know which one.